come inside.
Hello, YouTube. Welcome to another edition of Star Wars Collections and Displays. As always, I'm Jack, back after a little bit of a hiatus. With us always, we have Jim. Hello, Jim. And I have a very special guest in that third window down there, another Star Wars collector. I'm going to hand it off over to you. Introduce yourself. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about your collection.
Hi, I'm Bill from Rhode Island. I've been collecting for 25 years or so. I started collecting because my son was 1 year old, and I just remembered how much I loved collecting Star Wars. So I went online, and there was a store called Cloud City Collectibles. I don't know if you remember that from way back. And I ended up buying him some of the just Bendums, if you remember those rubber Bendums. So I was like, oh, that'd be a fun thing for the play. Then I noticed they had the old figures, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna, maybe it'd be kind of cool just to get the whole set and put them in the cabinet. And I guess I went down the rabbit hole like so many others have gone down and had to have everything. You know what I mean? I'm a completionist, I guess. So then I had to have them on the cards and in the baggies and just everything else. Just like, you know, the, um, so, so, and just like everybody else, I've kind of gone more and I've been more into it than I kind of put it down for a little bit because you can't do it all the time. You have a lot of other things going on in your life. I'm really lucky. I have a great wife who's really supportive. Otherwise, I couldn't do what I do. Uh, 10 years ago or so, when I moved in with her, I actually moved in and I brought basically in her bedroom about 12 of those really large totes, and we stacked them up to the ceiling. And she allowed that, which is kind of crazy. Um, so I'm really lucky with that. And then a couple of years ago, I turned 50 years old. She had a Star Wars party, surprise party for me, and that was a lot of fun. And everybody dressed up as Star Wars characters and everything. And but yeah, so I just I pretty much specialize. I like the vintage figures, the old figures from when I was a young kid, and other things that I liked when I was a kid and had were like the Shogun Warriors and stuff like that. The original the alien figure from kind of Alien. I loved that when I was a kid. Um, so
The Shogun figures you're talking about, are those from the television show back in the early
yeah,
80s?
from the 70s, the large, what is it? I don't know, like 18-inch figures. Those are the ones. I had Guy King and I had Godzilla, and I think my cousin, he had a couple other ones. So I started. My cousin, he was a couple of years older than me, so we both played. That's another memory I have is we always played Star Wars figures and everything. And my grandparents, every Christmas, they'd have the Sears catalog, and we'd they would say just circle what you want, and then we'd circle everything, all the Star Wars things, and they had a lot of great things, and that's really what got me into like the Star Wars toys because you can get like multi-packs of figures and all that stuff and exclusive things that you couldn't get anywhere else or anything.
So,
So
Bill, help me out. You said that you've been
that's
collecting
where,
for about 25 years,
yeah,
but you just
but I
turned
had,
50. So it sounds like
yeah.
there was almost two collection periods.
Well, what was is my childhood collection, like, and I had them, and then it was one of those things that when I turned a certain age, I'm trying to guess about 12-ish or so, then all of a sudden I think my mom threw them away or some I don't know, somehow they were gone. Uh, so yeah, and I've always been like I've always liked to get the things back that I once had, like whether it's like I used to collect baseball cards. So um, years later, I had to have my favorite player was Carl Yastrzemski from the Red Sox, so I had to go out and get every Carl Yastrzemski card they made PSA graded or whatever. So and I really enjoyed doing that. So
Awesome.
um, yeah.
Got it. All right.
Well, let me kind of jump in here and start asking you some questions and try to narrow down and see where you're at within this. So we see behind you a lot of really nice mint on card Star Wars items. What really is your interest? Is it action figures, vehicles, helmets, lightsabers, comics?
Well, I years ago I had all the I don't have any really vehicles now. I used to have all the vehicles, and the thing is, it took so much space. I figured out, I'm going to just focus on the figures and everything. I sold all my ships, and I ended up buying a couple of really nice guitars. So I used that money for that. But yeah, just now I just kind of focus on like the figures, and when they're unopened and everything, whether it's the MOCs or the baggies, and just like really nice condition figures. And also I like variants a lot, and different foreign figures, whether it's Lily Laddie, Glassly, or the Spanish figures and Uzi, you know. So that interests me a lot.
Wow, very
Um,
cool.
it looks like your size wise, your interest appears to be the 3 3/4.
Yeah, and that's probably, I have the the 12-inch figures too, and I like them, but uh yeah, but that's kind of what I focus on. There's a lot of collectors out there now, the focus collectors, and they'll be like a C3PO collector or something like that, and they have all different things. So I focus on like the 3 3/4 figures. That's what I've always enjoyed, because that's what I had growing up as a kid, so that's what I liked.
And is there a particular story, episode 4, 5, 6, 7? Or are you a 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9? I
Yeah.
mean, what's the what's your idea for collecting when you go to something?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I was like 5 years old when I first saw the original Star Wars, and my mom was great, and I don't know how she did it. But she probably took me like 20 something times to see it, So I saw a bunch, and I just loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And same thing with like Empire Strikes Back. I loved that. I saw Return of the Jedi. I still liked it and everything, but I was starting to getting into other things by that age. But yeah, but so really for me, it's the first two films. Those really what I loved growing up.
And the collect. So you kind of had, as Jack said, two different collecting periods. The first
Yeah,
one seemed to have ended, and mom kind of made the
yeah,
stuff disappear. And then you
yeah.
started over again 25 years ago, or was it 10
Oh,
years
25
ago?
years.
Okay.
25
And
years ago. Yeah,
slowly began a second whole new collection.
yeah, and that's when I really started collecting. Yeah, like
And based on the videos and the images that you've sent to me, what would you say in quantity would be the number of items you've currently amassed?
well, I probably a couple of thousand, I guess, is as I'm sure like a lot of people on your show about the same thing. There's a app on your phone called Tracker. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, and you can kind of enter all your things, and kind of it catalogs everything and everything. So uh, I have that, and I even put like who I purchased the item from, how much, we put how much it is, and it tells you like almost like the stock market. The prices go up and down, so you have a good gauge of how much it costs now,
Oh,
the item costs
really?
now. So
And you
yeah.
say it's on the phone. It came on the phone like it's an Apple.
No, it's an app you have to buy. It's called
Okay,
Tracker.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and it's kind of a useful app.
A few people in the past have brought up databases and things such as that to
Yeah, I was watching your show the other day, and somebody mentioned an app which I haven't heard of before. So,
right,
but I
right.
know there's a few of them.
And the version you have it allows you to really get quite detailed into what the item is.
Yeah, you can put, I don't know how many, maybe 30 pictures of your own for each item, and
Wow.
there's a bunch of, even from the thing, you can create your own like label, as though like almost like an AFA kind of label, which you can kind of put on a case or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can do a lot, and then yeah, and you could yeah, basically, yeah, it just keeps a lot of information for you. You can put like a note section, so you can
It's interesting that
how
information.
much you paid for it, and like if it's like rated and all that.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going to kind of make a side venture here. I'm going to ask this question, although it might be more appropriate further down the road, but I think it works now. Do you have any type of insurance on your collection?
You sound like my wife, yeah, because she's always saying
Well,
that,
the reason I say that is
yeah,
I do, and I'm not bragging about it. The point
yeah,
is, when I approached my insurance person, Farmers, I think, was who we were with at the time, and they offered a collection policy, but they
Yeah.
wanted pictures of everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, that in itself becomes a whole project. But you going through this program you have may already have that information. That's really
Yeah.
the root of my question.
Yeah, and that's what I wonder too, is if you could almost, if something were to happen, if you could just log on that app and say, hey, this is what I have. I
So
have it all
because I
cataloged up.
didn't want to go through that big project, I ended up pursuing
Yeah.
one online, collector's insurance, I think is what it's called. And I asked the guy right away, do you need pictures with this? I said, what I do have is everything is logged into QuickBooks under collectibles. And there's a little bit of a description there, so I can print out what I purchased and its description and its value, and that's what I use to base the insurance policy on, which is a
Yeah.
ridiculously high number.
Yeah. But it really is a smart thing to do. And that's something I think I really should strongly consider because,
Well, and of course, the irony to that is I'm right in the tail end. I unfortunately got rear-ended 2 months ago, and we still haven't been able to move forward with the insurance company yet on the repair of the van. And I'm beginning to get a glimpse into how your insurance agent actually, how well she works or doesn't work, how your insurance brokers, how your insurance company, and in this case with Progressive, it's like a real disappointment, you know. Flo would be just terribly upset, you know. But
oh
the
yeah. So
it
I've,
it
yeah. Well, again, yeah. So I'm a member of some of the Facebook groups, and I've seen people say, "Hey, you should get insurance because my house just caught on fire." And it's a very tragic thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah. How awful would you feel or something like that? Because it's not just the money; it's just everything that
well,
you've put
you
into it and everything.
lost everything. You
You
have
can you can't
nothing. It's
yeah
gone.
yeah
Everything. Um,
yeah
we both have friends that were in either the Palisades fire or the Altadena fire. Their stuff's gone.
yeah yep
Yeah.
yeah I know. So I
I
think
lost two
that's something I
service
should.
customers 6 years ago in the Woolsey fire. Big tanks, big houses, gone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I think everybody should definitely look into something like
I'm going to
that.
swing this back around to Star Wars and get off the insurance claims for a second here. Bill, I'm curious, what is it about Star Wars that made you cling so hard to that, even, back when you were a child and now even 25 years ago to start collecting again?
I think that's Star Wars is just something that so many people can just just relate to or something. You have such good memories about it. And I don't know if you can even put a finger on it. It's just you can watch those movies over, at least I can anyway, over and over again, and it just brings back so many great memories and about growing up and your family and everything. And my kids both loved it. You know what I mean? So we'd watch it a lot and everything, and I'd play the video games with them and all that. So I don't know. I guess I just like collecting, and whether it's like before I mentioned uh, baseball cards. I had coins at one time. I used to like collecting coins, and
Yeah.
so. But like
would
Star
you
Wars, there's like a never ending thing when it comes to Star Wars. You can't really. It's hard. You can't really finish that.
well, the story
You
keeps
know.
going and going and going. You can go any different
Oh
direction.
yeah.
I'm
But what
curious.
what I've been doing now is I've been like, because you only have so much room, right? So I enjoy like upgrading things. You know what I mean? So I'll know of certain things. I can upgrade that. I can get a better carded figure because there's a dent in the bubble or something like that. So then I'll get one. I'll find a good deal on it. And I've always said, you can sort of build equity over the years in that item. So eventually, when you do sell it, you sell it for much more than you paid for it, and then you put that money towards a better conditioned figure and everything. And that's kind of fun to do. Sometimes like I've got a much better figure and made money. You know,
Wow.
so
Sold your old one, made a little cash. Whatever
yeah,
the new one was that you bought was an upgrade, but it was still, you found it for cheaper than what you sold the old one
yeah.
for. Yeah,
Yeah, and I've
interesting.
I've always enjoyed. I really enjoyed that whole, like, my coworkers get a kick out of it because a few times a week I come into work and with boxes, and I just mail it out. So it's pretty funny. One time, um, the Sandcrawler. I went on eBay and there was a boxed one for $1,100, and it looked really nice. So I just bought it right there. I sent it to AFA, and like probably about 4 months later, I sold it for $7,000. You know,
Oh, wow. Wow.
and it got an 80 grade, and I sold it. Um,
What a
I
jump.
sold it, and yeah, with that money, because I don't really focus on the vehicles anymore. I put it towards figures. I used that
Okay.
money, and I was able to get some good figures out of that. And yeah. So an interesting thing is I actually sold it to somebody, a big member of the Star Wars community. Who I don't know if you know Tom Derby. He's a pretty popular guy. He paid me like $7,000, friends and family
Yeah.
PayPal, which I thought that was amazing.
Bill did better with that than Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah,
So at this point, our question typically be, what is your motivation? Would it be investment, looks, or enjoyment? But it sounds a little bit like it's an
Yes.
investment for you.
I mean, I've always considered, I really, really enjoy it, and I don't see myself selling it, but I know at some point you probably have to, or whatever. So I've always kind of considered it's almost like a second 401k in a way, and but I think, the value in things, it's like, as you know, right now, it's kind of fluctuating. Some of the stuff's going down compared to how it was during COVID and everything. But I don't really think too much of selling too much. I know there's a lot of big sellers out there. I mean, a lot of big collectors out there who have recently started to sell. Like that Jeff's Museum. I don't know if you know him. He sold all his stuff on Hakes, the auction site. And he had like one of the biggest collections in the world. He probably made millions of dollars off selling it. Um, so I think when that happens, then the prices almost come down because it's so much of the stuff is going back into the market.
Sure.
But
Yeah, it
the
definitely
way I see it, I'll just
fluctuates.
see stuff. Yeah, and I'll just see it, but I'll see something for a good deal, and I'll just keep buying stuff. And not. I mean, I don't put my. I'm not. I don't go into debt because of it or anything. But yeah.
There hasn't been a Star Wars movie since I think 2019. So
Yeah,
that's, 6 years now. There is a new movie coming out in 2026, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So I think
yeah,
when the previews for that start coming out and the anticipation for that starts coming out, and also if the
yeah.
movie's good, I think we'll start seeing a rise in some of the Star Wars
Yeah, and it's
figures.
still it's amazing. I see all these younger collectors. It's amazing. So I think Star Wars is going to be there for a while.
Mhm.
I know there's some toy lines that kind of died out and everything. And maybe like toy trains or something from what I hear. Stuff like that. They were worth a lot more back then, and
Right.
Well, I
maybe not
also
as much now.
kind of think a little bit of the tariff thing. I mean, if the Donald has his way, everything is brought back to the US. Well, if that's the case, everything on your wall behind you was made in China. And that gives it some unique value to it, and pretty soon it becomes a collectible just because of where it was made.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I just always look at the toys, and I see these things, and it just amazes me that something from 1978 in a package can look in so much better condition than something if I were to go to Toys R Us and take it off the shelf now. I mean, I can't, and that just blows me away that something like that somebody didn't open that and play with it. So just
Those kind of
I really
people
enjoy it.
who have the ability to buy something
Oh
without
yeah,
opening it up, I have a lot
yeah.
of respect for.
But in 1978 though, I mean that's something.
My
I can't believe people.
1978 figures were opened. I didn't start, keeping them closed until the 95 figures, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
we
Okay.
a lot of us have the closed 95.
So the next question is typically a reference to grading. And through the images and the videos you've sent to me, you do have a number of graded figures. And then to a minor degree, I was kind of able to define there are what I know as graded figures, which typically you're looking for the labels and the way they're presented inside there. And then you also seem to have had a lot of them in the acrylic cases. I want to say Ian's on eBay.
Yes, correct. Yeah, he's got the great cases, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
and they're so the thing is, what my thing is, like, grading isn't everything. I really try to get the actual figure, because like for example, a couple months ago, I bought a CAS Power of the Force B-wing for a pilot, and I came in and I had like even like an 85 subgrade on it, and I got it, and I was like, oh, that's I don't, it's got wrinkles all over there and everything, so I ended up selling it, because my raw one was in much better shape, so just because something's graded doesn't mean it's the best thing. I have a bunch of figures that to me look a lot better than like AFA 85 figures, and it just so I just as long as the figure is in really good shape, I'm happy with it. I don't I don't buy the label really,
When you
Good,
do
it's a good help, but it's not
when you grade yourself, or when you're possibly buying a graded figure, are you buying MOC graded or loose graded?
both, it's not always graded though. If I'll buy it if it if I think it's a good deal and it's worth it and everything, and if it's something better than what I have, then I'll upgrade and buy it. But like I said, I've gotten great items before, and I don't think they're in that great a condition. Same with loose and carded. So it's like you can't really trust. I don't know like who's grading these things. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
like it's somebody like it's like some they're just like hiring some kid for his opinion or something.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not
So I don't know.
sure 100% how all that works. Well,
Yeah, and nobody does.
sticking with the box versus loose, obviously everything behind you right now is MOC, but do you
Yeah.
also have a loose collection as well?
Yeah, I have I don't know how many hundreds of figures loose. I have I don't know, maybe 600 or so. Um and they're some of them are graded and some I so I've been buying for a long time. I've been buying on eBay since there was before PayPal, you know what I mean? So I used to send in a check, a money order, or even cash through the mail to get these things. You know what I mean? And I'd always look for in my little searches that because I'd probably get like 30 emails a day from things that I put in, but I'd always look for like mint off card or something like that because I'd like to get the figures when they were like either like basically taken off the card. So that's kind of and that means when they're like that and you just know they're like perfect, then that means just as much if or sometimes maybe more than if it's graded, you know, because
Mhm.
that's really what I enjoy is just the figure.
Right. And do you, as far as like, do you prefer the MOC or do you prefer the loose? Like when you're kind of looking at your collection, what gives you the most warm feeling?
Well, I like the mocks or everything, but I also like the loose like the rare figures. Like I love like the orange haired Luke Farmboy and the vinyl Jawa and the you know what I mean? The red bar R5, and all those cool figures. The Lily Letty, the burgundy coat, Bib Fortuna, and the Jawa with his removable helmet.
Yeah, yeah,
You
the
know
hood. Yeah, right.
the hood and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
right.
So yeah, I mean, I like it all. And so those are really my three things: is like the mocks, the baggies, and like the
And the
loose
loose.
figures.
Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
those variant loose. Yeah, I like
Yeah, I,
that.
I like I like that, and I like error figures too. Like I like ones that are, they didn't put they didn't have the paint applications correct, or they're missing things or whatever. I think that's pretty cool. Or I have legs on backwards and stuff like that. They put them on
Okay.
backwards and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
It may then answer some of the questions. I've gone through everything you've sent to me, and there were certain things that stood out. And one of the questions I wrote down was why multiples of the same figures.
Yeah,
And I
but
had
there's
gone to see
different.
five Han Solos.
Yeah, and like there'd be like you'd probably see like a dozen or so farm boys, but they're all different. Whether it's the country of origin, the Hong Kong, Taiwan, or I have a couple of double telescoping lightsabers
Ah,
versions, and the couple like the light brown here, the dark brown here, the olive here. The olive here, he came on the Palatoy Tri logo card, and it came with the Bestman saber. Because the hole in his armor is too small for them to put the lightsaber in. So kind of a cool variant. You know,
So
I
it
have a
came with
loose
the
one and
yellow
also
Oh
Bespin
wow!
saber. Wow,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
So they could stick.
Alfonso from Mexico was my favorite guy for variants, but you're very quickly moving way up on the list there,
Yeah, a
Bill.
lot of variants here. This is awesome.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting ones. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Another one of the questions I had was I noticed there was a number of what I wrote down as plastic packaged figures. I think you've kind of referred to it a few times as baggies.
Oh yeah, like the Kenner baggies. I've always liked them because I've been collecting a while, and there was a time they really weren't that expensive. You know, they were almost thought of as loose figures in a way. So I've always really enjoyed it. It's the way how you can get a mint figure, you know, for not as expensive back then. And now they've really taken off popularity wise and price wise and everything. And there's like all different you know, you can be like Star Wars A baggy, Star Wars B baggy, Star Wars D baggy. I mean, just like everything. So you can really learn it. Just like there's like a Star Wars 12 back C and stuff. So it's all and like today I just got another a CAS driver in a ES Empire Strikes Back C baggy. But I have an H baggy also. So it's just like I like the baggy. I got about 110 of them.
Wow.
So maybe I kind of opened up just barely opened the door here to something I wasn't aware of. So I'm thinking of a little plastic bag that a figure would be placed inside of. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did you not just say that in addition to the figure, there's different?
Oh yeah, there's websites you can go on to learn all about it. But there's a lot. I don't even know how many baggy types, but you can read all about it. And uh, there's Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Power of the Force baggies. There's the Palatoy baggies, and
So
there's all it's
the
all
baggie itself is the
the bag
variable,
that makes the value go up. Yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah.
figure in all of them is the same.
Yeah. Some of them are rare. Some of them, like it could be a common figure, but in a baggie, and it's a rare figure. It's hard to find. It's hard to find like a cloud car pilot in a baggie. I actually just got one a few months ago. I've been looking for a while. I put it in my eBay search. And
I was just going to ask, where did you go looking for it? You found that on
actually, I got it.
eBay.
I got it off of um. There's some website. I forget what it is, and Mm. There's some website that sells Star Wars figures, and they posted it on their Facebook thing, and that's how I got it. I'm drawing a blank on the website.
Son of a gun.
Ryan, no, not Dallas
So
Vintage Toys. That's where I get it.
going back then to the graded, more specifically the acrylic cases. So typically, we've always discussed that the advantage of graded, first of all, is uh, presentation. Secondly, is security, meaning nobody can screw with that item any further down the road. It was defined as XYZ, and here it is, and you can't change it unless you open it up. So you've got a protection
Yeah,
factor there.
and that's true and everything. But one thing about graded is um, star cases offer a much better protection than an acrylic, like an AFA case when you're shipping it. There's a lot of people who sell AFA graded figures, and because it's not really a lot of protection, they get damaged in shipping.
Hmm.
So that's a pretty
Okay,
big thing.
I learned
A lot of
something.
people will sell like on the collectors things on Facebook. They'll sell it with an acrylic case, but they'll ship it in a star case because it's more protected, and they can put foam and stuff inside there.
The star
Interesting.
cases, those plastic
The
ones.
plastic, yeah, the plastic ones, yeah, you
Yeah.
get for like 350 or something.
Yeah.
And Bill, going back to the baggy figures for just a second, I thought that was an interesting topic, an interesting conversation. Why were some of the figures put into baggy? I know that there was mail away figures that came in baggies, but what about like an AT-AT driver or something like that? Why was that in a baggie?
There was a lot of multi packs that were they'd sell from like Sears and stuff. One of my theories, I was actually watching your show the other day, and you were talking about the Revenge of the Sith, and they had to get rid of a lot of these figures. And I think Kenner took a lot of those figures and put them in baggies. You know, yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. Okay.
Was it
Yeah,
Revenge of the
no,
Sith or was it
no, Revenge of the Jedi.
Revenge
Revenge
of
of
the
the
Return
Jedi.
of
Jedi?
Remember?
Yeah,
Revenge of the
because of
Jedi,
the
right?
the
Yeah.
verbiage
Remember?
there.
And they had to get
Yes.
rid of all those.
Yeah,
they
and the
opened it up.
question came up, what did they do with the ones in the
What did they do with
package?
them? But I think Kenner repackaged them in a lot of those in baggies. You know,
Interesting.
there's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of stores actually just sold baggies. You
Like
know,
I
like I
kind of
have
remember as a kid, like there was a place
yeah
called Montgomery Ward, and they would
yeah,
have
and they would sell
sometimes
them.
baggy figures, and I'd be like, why is it coming in a bag? But
I
that's what
have a
that
bag.
was. Okay.
I have a Leah Hoff that has a Sears sticker on it.
Sears. Okay.
Sears
Wow.
price tag. Yeah, yeah, and
Before
like
before
Sears, they would sell like the big. They would sell boxes with up to like 15 figures, baggy figures in there. You know.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
before we leave the graded series of questions, more specifically an acrylic encase, whether it be graded or Ian's or what. The challenge that I've found with those becomes being able to display them. Um,
yeah.
so I'm going to use, for example, what we see behind you. You
So I
can't
did something.
go, you can't go
Yeah,
more than one deep. And the
yeah,
same thing, the disadvantage of the acrylic case is an additional level of disadvantages. Now you've got to build shelves for them, but you can't see them more than one deep. So there's got to be
yeah,
some unique reason for wanting to go down that particular path. I got halfway down there. I was buying loose figures and I was buying cards separately, putting them together myself, buying Ian's cases, and I have a whole bunch of them. I just the problem was is it's 3 dozen figures I've got to package, and I can't afford to
yeah,
buy that many acrylic cases at one time from Ian's. And so I would buy them a case at a time. And over the period of time, that spotlight of interest changes.
yeah. Um,
I've gone down the Indiana Jones, the Jaws. There's a few others, the whole Marvel Comics rabbit holes, and I still haven't gone back to acrylic cases yet. So
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
my feelings there.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of collectors, and they have almost like bookcases, and they kind of store them like books, and like so you can't really see them, or they do them kind of tilted so you may be able to see the figure but not the card. I like being able to see, the whole thing. So I did something that's actually I've never really seen before, as you can kind of see. I on Amazon I got newbie like magazine kind of acrylic cases, like their shelves. I've never seen anybody who have done that before, but I put those up across the whole wall, and I feel like it's kind of cool because I can, see the whole figure, the whole carded figure, and
You
but no,
kind of
you're right.
lost me there just a little bit.
Yeah,
You,
help me
Oh,
out
okay,
with what you have. So, what we're looking at behind you is an actual shelf made out of acrylic.
yeah. So it's almost like if you would go to the doctor's office and see what would be magazine shelves that would hold magazines, acrylic shelves. So I got, and there's this
oh,
company called
okay.
Newbie who make really really good quality thick acrylic shelves. They're like really really nice. So I got a whole bunch of them on Amazon and just lined them up. So people first walk into my room and they think it's almost like wallpapered or something
Well,
because you
that
can't
was
see
my
them.
impression. So
Yeah,
that's really more a wall of acrylic magazine holders.
something like yeah.
How are they attached to the wall, or are they just vertically stacked?
No, I screwed them to the wall with with
Oh, and then
they're
how do
screwed
you
in with anchors.
how is the carded figure held in there?
It has like a little lip. It's a couple inches deep. It's perfect for a carded figure, and then it has a tiny lip on it, which would prevent it from falling out.
And of
I,
course,
I did a lot of research when I was
Did
looking for something
same
because yeah,
same.
I was like I wasn't sure if I was going to get the the typical floating shelves or anything.
Right.
But I found that because at first I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll get some glass shelves, but then I found the acrylic shelves, and I thought it was a good idea, and it worked out great.
So
and you can
the
change them anytime you want. The
Yeah.
figures, not the case.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can move. Yeah, I can, and I do that. So I'll be like, no, you know what? I got to this
This is
one
where my
belongs over here.
interest is this week. I'm going to move that
Yeah,
picture over here and move
Yeah.
her over here.
yeah, and yeah, and it just says, you know what, yeah, maybe I just bought a new figure, and I'm
Yeah.
really liking to see it. I'll put it down low where I can actually see it.
Oh, well,
You know?
okay, okay. See, there was something I didn't pick up on as I looked through all the things. It was, how is your collection displayed? Hence the
Yeah,
name
and
of
it's
our show, Star Wars
yeah,
Collectors and Displays. So that's a unique way to display. So
yeah,
where
and
do you get
I've
those?
never
Off
seen anybody else
Amazon?
who displayed their. I've never seen anybody else who did that before. So,
That's
uh,
off
I
Amazon?
mean, yeah, it's Amazon newbie acrylic cases for like magazines or something, and it really they hold like a lot of weight. You know, they're really strong, and so and they're like invisible.
So just to make sure that I'm understanding everything behind you, and we'll get some additional images and we'll put this into that fourth window, but everything behind you is a mock figure that's in acrylic and then on an acrylic shelf as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, with a lip
Okay.
on it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah,
Understand. Right. Yeah.
it's something like this with
yeah,
probably a little gate in the front of it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
And
you
then you put it
mount
in.
this against the wall,
Yeah.
put the
yeah.
figure in here, the little gate stops it from toppling out.
From coming
That's
off, if
awesome.
something were to happen, you know, which hopefully wouldn't, but if there was an earthquake or something, maybe it would help. I guess I don't know, but
The
yeah.
magazine
So, but
holder perfectly describes what it is.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's
Dr.
really what it
Vintage
is. If
Comics.
you were to go on Amazon and stretch out like acrylic magazine holder,
Yeah.
you would see there's different brands that make them,
Mhm.
and I think it's perfect for Star
Wow.
Wars figures. You know,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. We'll put it into that fourth window right now.
No, there were no images I saw in his stuff, but it went right over my head if they
No,
were.
go to Amazon and look at the
Yeah,
shelf and
okay,
put the picture
okay,
of that up
okay.
there.
It'll
I think
be
that's a
there. It'll
really
be there.
if you're looking for and they're really easy to mount. You can just put them up really easy. You
Yeah.
know, and
I
it's
like it. It
not
looks
a
amazing.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really happy with it. My wife helped me put it up, and we were both so proud when we did it. We were like, "Wow, this came out so much better than we thought it would," you know. So and we even have like videos as we did it, like in as we were doing it and everything.
Did
So
you
it's kind
use
of
a
Send them
cool.
over.
level or a string or a line?
I used a laser kind of thing, a
Oh,
laser,
okay.
yeah,
A level.
to get it straight, you know.
My luck, my shoot from the hip style is I would do it and then I'd stand back going, oh,
Yeah.
That's very cool.
okay. So a kind of a little bit of a I want to go through and ask a few questions here, and I'm just let me go through my notes. So I did see, and these are were you had Ewok, a collection of Ewoks mint on card.
Yeah.
And then there was also the collection of droids mint on card.
Oh,
Um,
you're talking about the Ewok series. Yeah, yeah,
Right, right.
yeah, and the droid series too. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you had those mock as well. Are those some things that you collected when you were younger as well and then recollected, or is that something
No,
in the new collection?
I would just see them. They kind of came out after the Power of the Force after 1985, and I just think that I just really when I first saw them, I really wanted the like the R2 in a C3PO because they were like the Kenner figures, but they would look so much different. You know, they were different paint on it, like the bright yellow for C3PO, and R2 has a different sticker, and he's like a pop up saber too. You know, so
That's right. Yeah.
so I wanted yeah, so I wanted that. Then I ended up just getting a few more of them, like you know. So like this, like I don't have like who is it? There's a couple of them that I don't have, like Tig from. He's a pretty expensive one, but like the thing is like, and it's hard for me to justify getting one something that costs like that much when I don't really remember him from the movie. You know what I mean? He wasn't really in. You know what I mean? And I could get something that I remembered more probably. You know, and they have like you know Vlix or whatever, who's you get one of those at like 15 grand or something, you know, for
Wow.
like one of those droids figures, you know, one of the rarest figures, production figures. So,
before we leave the subject with those acrylic cases, and sorry for keep going back to it, how many walls in that room are covered with those acrylic cases?
I just have that one behind me. That's like my, yeah, I can fit, it's like 22 across on each level and there's like 8 levels. So,
Nice.
yeah. Yeah. So it's a bunch, I can hold a bunch of them.
That's a
So,
few episodes of Star Wars.
yeah, yeah.
So there were kind of two periods of collecting, as you were when you were a kid. So when the movies came out in 77, 78, did you immediately begin to collect, or did you just wallow in the movie and then it became of interest later, or how did that happen?
No, I
Time
mean,
out.
I was getting them from 1978 when they first came out. Obviously, I just loved going to the store and getting them. I got a lot of them. You know, those, um, from the first two movies, I got a lot of the figures. You know, probably like every single one from the first two movies, and it had a bunch of vehicles and all that. And
And
I,
you've mentioned the first two movies a couple of times. Was the third, the Rescue Revenge, was the third one not a favorite, or
no,
um,
it's just I was sort of getting older, and I still saw it in the movies a few times and everything like that. But it wasn't. I was probably just getting to be like
interested in
11 to.
girls?
Yeah, no, actually, I was at that point. I was probably getting really interested. I started playing music a lot. I started playing in bands and stuff. Like, well, I started learning playing. I probably didn't start playing in bands till well, yeah, about 13, I guess. But yeah, I started playing the guitar a lot. But
And
I love Star
so
Wars, and I've always loved Star Wars.
at
So
that point, the collection kind of in its first phase kind of
yeah,
stopped. And then somehow those figures somehow disappeared. And then a number of years later, you decided to kind of get back into it. What might have drawn you back into it that time, that second time?
that's what I was saying before about my son. Like wanted to get him. I was thinking I want to get him something that would be fun for him to play with, and I was thinking, oh, Star Wars figures. I used to love those, you know. So that's when I went onto the internet and I discovered, wow, you can buy these things. You know, you can buy them again, and that just amazed me. So that's what really got it. Where I got it from the second time.
Jim, I want to jump in a second here and ask Bill a quick question as far as like showing your kids Star Wars and introducing them to the movies. How did you, what order, if you can remember, did you show them the movies? Was it one, two, three first, or did you go four, five, six first?
No, yeah, we watched the original trilogy. We would watch Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. That's what we'd watch, and then yeah, and then they would start with the prequels, that when they were younger, we saw just like I would have seen it,
Right.
and
So
they're
four,
both
five,
really
six
big Star
first.
Wars fans. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The way that we would have seen it, yeah, four, five, six, yeah.
There's a lot of new parents out there that they want to know this answer. You know, how do I show my children Star Wars? Do I show them
Yeah,
episode one first, or do I start at four? It
yeah, but
sounds
I
like
think you
Bill
missed
started
something
at four. Yeah.
if you start at the prequel. I think you sort of miss kind of like inside humor and stuff. You know what I mean? From like from the prequels and stuff like that. You know, when they run into C-3PO for the first time, and that's like a big thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I enjoy watching it. I would sit. I've recommended before that people start it from the original trilogy and then go to the prequels and then and then the sequels. So I would say.
Logically, it's the right step as far as the story's concerned.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in the second phase of collecting, you've amassed quite the collection of Star Wars items, but I've also noticed that you have little variations on different things, such as um, Star Trek. I saw in there. Was that
Yep,
Mego? Mego
yeah,
was that?
Migo. Yeah, that. Yep, the Migo. Yeah,
There's
yeah. I have
those
this.
five dots in the
Yep,
card itself.
and they have the aliens too, which I never got the aliens because they were always really crazy expensive, So I kind of just stuck with the original six, So
I
that's what I.
also
Those are,
saw Clash of the Titans.
yeah, like the Kraken, and yeah, I got all those
One
guys. So.
one that stood out to me, and I'm surprised to a certain degree it's not more popular, but there might be a reason for it. Buck Rogers.
Oh yeah, I remember playing with that as a kid too. I remember having the Buck Rogers figures, So I have the Twiggy, I have the on a card Twiggy, and I kind of like him. So because I had him when I was a kid, so you got to like what you had when you were a kid.
And
The
then
little
we've
robot.
got a collection here that Jack will enjoy, and that is Masters of the Universe.
I like you gotta like Skeletor, and I only really collect Skeletor, and I like Scareglow too, but I mean Skeletor is really really cool. So
And then what I would probably say would be a 60s kid, which I kind of have a lot of connection with you there. There was Evil Knievel.
oh, and I loved Evil Knievel. Yeah, he was I loved. I have a lot of great memories of playing with that. So that's a great. Yep, I have the Energizer. Yeah, just doing that and making him do all
Now,
the jumps and everything.
there were two really cool things that I saw. One of them was um, Vader's melted helmet.
So that's actually that was a 3D printed thing. I went to like a Star Wars like toy convention or something. And I saw the 3D printed thing, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. It's amazing what they can do now with that. And I was like, yeah, I gotta grab that.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now the
Yeah.
one here that, and I mentioned this to you the other night, and so I'm just looking for a deeper explanation and conversation about it. But it you referred to it as the mail away version, in this case
Oh
of
yeah.
the Boba Fett, the rocket firing Boba Fett.
Yeah, the very first I have it, like a sealed baggie with all the paperwork in the box and everything, and that's in an acrylic case, yeah, from before it was on the card, and it was you had to mail in a proof of purchases to get it and everything. So I think that's a really cool thing.
It's a very cool thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a little clarification. I'm under the impression that the dangerous ones never got
It never
beyond
got out there, yeah.
prototype.
Yeah, yeah. So the ones that you actually received had a fixed rocket, and in fact, on my display, there's a piece of paper that says that the apology
Oh,
note,
sorry. Yes.
which says, sorry, the original version was supposed to have the shooting rocket, but we had to replace it with this one, and I think we replace it with any other figure if it's not to your
So,
satisfaction.
so my it's first of all, it's a very cool display. Nice acrylic. I don't think it was graded, but it was an acrylic case of
No, yeah.
but it was presented real well in there with the different pieces of paper and the you could see it was the package version in there.
Yeah,
So my
the box
question,
is crazy expensive. That's the funny thing about it is the box. Try to get a good condition box for that. That was
what do
the
you mean?
box that was in the mail. So um, yeah, and I actually got one not too long ago. I bought one and then I sold. A lot of what I do is buy like stuff and then sell it and just try to get at a
Invest.
lower price. You know, like my the early bird kit.
Uh-huh.
The early bird. So I pieced that together. Uh, I got the telescoping Luke many years ago, probably like 23 years ago in the baggie. I bought it I remember on eBay from somebody, and I hadn't received it. So I messaged the guy. I was like, hey, I still haven't gotten that. And he goes, oh, you got to forgive me. I work for NASA, and we have a flight coming up. So I haven't been able to ship it out. I remember that. So every time I think of that. But years later, I wanted to finish this early bird kit. So I ended up buying a few different early bird, like incomplete ones, and then gradually put it together. And then I had some nice surprises. I got one, and the figures were just loose in the thing. It had a telescoping
Wow.
lightsaber in one of them. I was like, holy crap! And it was a great deal because somebody on Facebook was selling it. They didn't know what they had. They had the whole thing with the box and the paperwork and everything, which the box usually sells about $1,200 itself, and the paperwork probably is like $800, and all the figures, which came with the double telescoping Luke and all the figures and the pegs and everything. I got it for $1,000.
Wow.
So, and which that was a great deal. And then I just sold the pieces I didn't need and it made more money. And so I got all that stuff for free. Like
It
the way
paid
I
for
look
what
at
you
it.
got, and then now you have a
Yeah.
double telescoping
Yeah, and I have that on
droid.
my shelf now. I have it, and there's such a great feeling of seeing the Luke and oh crap, it's got a broken saber. Wait a second, and boom, you pull it out,
Double telescope.
and that happened to me twice. Purchasing incomplete early bird kits.
Very,
Nice.
very
Yeah,
impressive. Very nice.
yeah.
So collectively then, so there was a few years when you were a young person that you collected, and then now there's this resurgence of collecting that collectively is 25, 30 years worth.
Yeah, the stuff I have now is 25 years, because I didn't have anything from when I was a kid, unfortunately. I know I wish I did because I think that stuff would be like some of your most precious stuff. I mean, I know I see people in their collections, they have that, which is amazing.
Well, I mean, you have, from what I've seen, some very rare, unique stuff. What would be the difference between what you currently have that's old versus what you
Yeah.
had was as a kid? Is it just the difference of time and when you were there?
Yeah, I guess it's just that it was yours. Even if it has weird, I think that would be
Bingo.
really cool.
Bingo. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, your display area. I got the impression it was a room all to itself, sort of.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a room. Yep, I got to make this my Star Wars room, so that was kind of
Nice.
like I got to get to take all those totes out of my old house, and actually take them out of the totes. So that was a great thing.
Very cool. Does it spill beyond the one room?
Uh, I like one thing I always try to say is like I don't if I'm not gonna have it, if I'm gonna have it in totes, I probably don't really need it. You know what I mean? So I would end up kind of selling the stuff that I don't have room for to display. So I try to keep I as I get new stuff, I end up selling other stuff. You know, so I always that's kind of what I do because you only have so much room. I could probably pack a lot more in there, but then it would, you know what I mean? I can pack more in there, but then I probably, that's
Jim,
what I
that's
do.
very good advice. He's giving you good advice.
I yeah, I'm always surprised at the people who collect comics and they buy them and then immediately tuck them into one of those totes. And
Yeah.
you might have a mental list of what it was, but it's not out for display or anything.
Yeah, I like to see the stuff, you know what I mean? I think that's the greatest thing about it is being able to see it.
I,
So
like a lot of us, got out of control a few years back and had this entire guest room that was all four walls, um, completed. And one day I had bought some more stuff and I brought it home and I stood there looking for a place to set it down. And I ended up setting it on top of something else. And I said,
yeah.
okay, you're buying for the wrong reasons, Jim. You're buying stuff and you have no place to keep it. And then I realized I could spill into other rooms and the problem just kept going.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would
You can
like
see what
yeah,
happened in here. It's down the hallway. It's in the dining room. It's in the living room.
Can
It's
we
a
mention
sickness.
can we mention the kitchen as well?
A kitchen as well.
Okay.
There's only one room in the house that it hasn't spilled into. In that particular room, it's a bathroom of all places. But that's referred to as the mission bathroom, and nothing ever gets past the doorway in there.
There is that shelf above the shower, I think you could put it.
So, um, the units in the back are magazine cases attached to the wall and they slip inside there. Other items that you have, how would you display them?
well, I do have some for modern stuff, what I really have is I like the retro Hasbro figures. So I got all those and I went crazy buying those like the Empire Strikes Back came out that version, and I end up going to all these stores, and I end up buying like 8 sets of them, 8 sets of six. Funny, a funny story I had. Like they came out. You remember the prototype Boba Fett figures? They came out with those, so they would only sell 2 of them to a person. So I would go in, my wife would go in, and I like the Impractical Jokers. So I thought it would be fun. I had different disguises. So and I end up I thought it would be hilarious to wear different disguises and go into the yep put a and it worked. I remember like one kid was caught and he was just like looking at me disgusted and was like but my wife always get a kick out of that.
Are you talking about the 2007 Ralph McQuarrie Boba Fett concept figures?
No, I'm talking about
Well, they had all those
the
multicolored Boba
the
Fett.
Oh,
multicolored
that, the
ones. Yeah,
multicolored
Multicolored
ones.
hands
yeah,
and arms and
The
pieces.
retro
Hasbro.
collection ones. Okay.
Yeah, so I just
They
thought it would,
limited those
yeah,
to 2? Wow.
yeah. At where we were anyway, they would only sell you 2 because it was in demand. I ended up
I
getting
see.
18 of them.
Wow.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, but that was a lot of fun.
Well, he said he referred to in the kitchen, which is technically the dining room, but I have the Boba Fett collection out there, all the different variations. And it's interesting when I got to the prototype version, you can have the C hand or the open hand, or the green hand with the purple hand with a yellow helmet.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, Jim, you're gonna end up buying all the Boba Fetts. We've already committed to that. Do you really need to have every little variation of the prototype?
For some reason, I do. I have like 6 of each one they came out with, and they probably have extras. Like I said, the Boba Fett. Somehow it was just a mission, so I ended up getting 18 of them. So, but anyway,
Interesting.
I sold a lot of those, like those Empire Strikes Back ones. Like I had them all in totes, so I was like, I don't really need all the. So I ended up probably selling each set and making a decent amount on eBay, and I just bought like vintage stuff with it.
I
So
too like the
because it
retro
was all in the
collection quite a
totes.
bit. They've kind of got me back into collecting. So it sounds like you're still collecting even the modern stuff now. Do you collect
Yeah, yeah.
the
It's just
vintage
really the
collection?
the retro series because I just
Just the
they're
retro.
the old figures. So I think they look cool, and it's cool that you can just go to Target or whatever and get them.
Right.
There was what appeared to be a large glass cabinet, and it had a um, iridescent light, green light in it. I dare say black light in there.
Yeah, it's like a purple light. I got that on Amazon. Yeah, and I just put some of my just random things in there. It's kind of
And
cool.
do
It has like a motion sensor, so if you come in the room, it'll just turn on.
oh,
It's kind
okay.
of cool.
And do
Yeah.
those particular figures that are in with that light illuminate or react to that light, or
I actually have the top shelf has Skeletors, but I also have Scareglows in there. So if you know that figure, when it gets when it when there's light on it, and then the light goes out, then he glows. So
and
that's
it
kind of
holds
cool.
on to the light a little bit?
Yeah, it holds on to the light and it glows. Yeah.
Interesting,
Okay.
interesting. Um, uh, any particular, aside from that green light in that one cabinet, any other variations as far as lighting for enhancing the looks or effects or anything?
I know. Yeah, under the carded figures, I have one of those a newbie. No, what is it called? Govee rope light. I actually bought it for a different purpose.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just a rope light, and I bought it for like something, and I just got it because I thought it was kind of cool, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And then I was like, I was like, my wife really wouldn't let me put it in the living room or whatever. I couldn't figure out a place to put it, so I was like, oh, let's just put it under my carded figures, and then you just come in if I yeah, and it just comes on when I walk in the room, so it's kind of
Well,
cool. Yeah.
Now, as far as the display, and in particular with what we see behind you, is there any particular arrangement? Are they stacked or stored or displayed by age or character, or how do you go about assigning who goes into what little pouch back there?
Well, I mean, as far as like the mid on card figures, like I have them kind of like in obviously with the Star Wars figures, but I also go a little further. Like I'll always have like Han Solo next to Chewbacca or Princess Leia next to Luke Fromboy or things like that. Sam Person's got to be near the Jawa, because I think it's kind of cool, or you know what I mean. So I'll kind of try to do that.
Is this room that you're in now with what we see on the back and on the other walls full, or is there room to put more in
Yeah,
and display it?
I and that's where with the stuff I have now, I really can't add anymore. So I end up upgrading. I end up if I know something that I can get better condition, I'll try to get a better one, or like I'll just for the loose figures I'll get it and just try to shove it in there somehow. But I'm really running out of room. It's a tough thing. So then I'm trying to think of, oh, maybe I should get some other kind of display case and put it maybe in the middle of the room. I don't really know. So it's,
There was that guy in, what was it, Michigan, that had that old watch display case
yeah, I saw
in
that
the middle
episode.
of
I
the
watched it
room.
last night. Yeah,
And
it was
it
like Timex
turned,
case and it kind of
yeah,
spun
yeah,
around. You know what I
that
mean?
was real cool. That was real
Yeah.
cool.
right.
Um,
A lot of people having a lot of different ways to display things, and
Yeah,
I think
that's one of
even
the things I enjoyed about your show. I was watching it, and it's just amazing. All these, everybody has their own things that they collect, and everybody has their own way of displaying it, and it's really cool. And like to see the guys who build their own shelves and their own ways of doing it. That's really cool. I enjoyed watching it.
that's
So
kind of
it's
the
amazing how
intent.
everybody collects different things. Everybody just has their own interests, and that's really
sure.
cool.
Exactly. So the room is not completely full, but for all intent and purpose, you're kind of contained to the room.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to probably. I mean, I could shove more stuff. I could definitely like just shove more things in there and everything. But I don't like. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to make it so I can't really walk in the room. You know what I mean? And trip over stuff. You know?
What if you went outside of the room as Jim has? Like, let's say you expanded into the living room or the kitchen. Would that be okay?
it probably wouldn't work out. I don't think I could do that. Like, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it, but I don't think, I'm lucky I got this room. You know what I mean? I don't think I could all of a sudden
We talked to a guy named
audition for another
Tracy out
room.
of Alabama recently, and he had a
Oklahoma.
3-bedroom house, and it literally starts at the front door. Every room is wallpapered with action figures from 1995 through,
Yeah,
like 2020, maybe even past. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah,
It was pretty crazy. And I think he had some of the the vintage stuff as well. I wanted to
yeah,
ask you though, Bill, you're talking about that you're still buying some of these retro collection figures. You're also buying figures that you can upgrade some of your older figures. What are your main sources of where you're buying these figures now?
yeah. Well, I like I said, I do have searches like every day. I check eBay and like for the things that come up, but I also the Facebook groups. You know what I mean? I'm on those. Like I probably belong to like 30 different vintage Star Wars groups on Facebook. And people sell the stuff and I know a lot of the people on there. You know what I mean? Because you deal with these names, these names, so you get to trust these people and everything. So. Um, and that's like and also on these groups it's really forbidden to sell like repro stuff, reproduction
Reproduction.
items.
Yeah.
So you're a lot more. It's a lot safer to purchase on those groups as opposed to eBay because like if you go on those groups and you have something for sale and as soon as you list something that's reproduction, people your name is like people it's dragged to the mud.
Mhm. Interesting.
So
And you said
I,
something about you do searches on eBay. What you just will
yeah.
go on eBay and type in what you're looking for? What type of
Yeah,
searches?
on eBay, I've done this for like since there's been eBay. You have your saved searches, and I get emails every day for the things I'm looking for, or I just go on there and go on eBay and go to my saved searches, and it'll be like 25 things were listed today, and I'll search through them
Saved
in that
searches.
particular
Interesting.
category.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen the save searches, but I've never really understood what it was.
Oh
That
yeah,
explains it. I had posted some, like you, I had a whole bunch of old GI Joe display stuff, and when I got the display all done, I had excess that sat in a box, and I thought, well, I'm sure that's valuable to somebody. So I've been slowly going through it, kind of categorizing all that it is, and I would post certain things, and certain of them would
yeah.
just get bites right away, and I'd think,
Oh
wow,
yeah.
how did they
Yeah, how did
find
they do that? Yeah, because I
oh,
literally get for certain things. As soon as something's listed, I'll get an email.
Okay.
Say, hey, this was just listed. So you can pop on there and
so
check it
that's what
out.
saves searches.
Save
Yeah,
searches. Okay.
save
Okay.
searches on eBay. That's a really
We learned
good.
something tonight, Jack.
Yeah, yeah. If there's
Um,
something if something you're really looking for, you can do it, and you can, like you said, you can link it up to your email. So as soon as somebody lists one of those, you'll get an email
Star
notification on your phone.
Wars sail barge. Well, along with new house or bigger room to put it in. Who is the collector within your family?
Well, I am. My wife, she was really into The Walking Dead, so I ended up just buying every single Walking Dead figure they made for her, and we put them in like cabinets. But like we would do it together. We'd go sometimes we do it, and she has like some of them that were autographed, but she has pretty much I guess all the McFarlane ones. You know what I'm talking about? Those. And some of them are, and there's some rare ones too. I think they lost a lot of their value right now, maybe for the time being, anyway. But like, there's like I remember there was a GameStop exclusive Bloody Rick from the first series, and that one at one point was like a $500 figure. And I don't know what it's worth now. But that was fun, collecting. I remember when I would buy them, and she was like, "Oh, why you buy it?" And I was like, "Well, this is a lot. This is fun because they're cheap compared to Star Wars figures. And she enjoyed it, so that was fun.
So
So
you were buying them, Bill, but it was almost a way to get her into like the kind of the
yeah, and
collector mindset. Yeah.
but we'd also go to like the those stores that sell like the old toys or those collection stores, and they'd have them there. So we'd go in there, and I'd get to look at some Star Wars stuff, and we'd buy a couple of zombies.
Nice.
Um, Here's a tough question. With regards to your collecting, would you consider yourself obsessive, compulsive, budgeted, under control, or out of control?
I can probably consider myself every single one of those, really, in some degree, really. sometimes like if there's something I want, I'll get it. You know what I mean? I'll figure out a way to get it. Or but then there's also a lot of things I'll be like every day I'm like I want to buy that, but I shouldn't. You know what I mean? So but if there's just things I kind of have like, you know what I mean? There's just something in my mind. I got to get that, and I'll just keep my mind out. I'll just keep looking for those couple of items, and but then I get it, and then you got to find something else,
But
and
is that
because
not also
it doesn't really ever end, really, you know.
so obsessive is
Yeah, so that's obsessive. Yeah, because you gotta.
me? I'm obsessive, but more compulsive. It just for some odd reason, like right now,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I have no stack of stuff that I've bought. Nothing I'm waiting for from the postman, and yet something could happen this coming weekend. I actually did a search the other night for 1970s pop culture action figures. And a whole different group of things came up, and of which one I was going to ask because I keep looking at it going, it looks like it's just a circuit breaker thing you stick in the computer. I have no idea what it is, but something could happen this weekend. I remember 6 months back, I knew I was going to fall into the Boba Fett 3 3/4 carded rabbit hole. I knew I was, and right after that, I fell into it. And nothing but brrr, that's all I bought that whole period. Then there was this Marvel Comics stuff that I'm still kind of questioning why I did, but I like it. It's fun. It was fun getting it. It's fun buying it. It was fun figuring out where I was going to put it. Um, so we all have problems.
I was going to say you're asking Bill the question, but it sounds like Jim wants to answer it.
who, who, who sees your collection?
Really, just family and friends who come over. I don't really. That's about it. I have friends who like Star Wars, and they're like, oh yeah, I have some Star Wars stuff, and I'll show them pictures of my phone or whatever. Like, holy crap. But it's one of those things, and you guys can probably relate to this. It's like I don't think anybody else can really, not a lot of other people can really appreciate all the stuff that you have. A lot of times you want to go, you have no idea how cool this is. You know what I mean?
Or the
And
effort
but
that
people
went
don't really know.
into it, or the variation, or
Oh yeah. You say like, wow, this is a Boba Fett from 1978. That's cool.
it
Like it's
is.
some, you know, and to them it doesn't really. It's the same thing as a figure that came out today or something.
Those who might come into your house that might get invited to see your collection, such as the gas man, or the electric man, or the plumber, kind of reaction do they have?
Honestly, I keep my door closed for I don't really let anybody. And I've had the urge to, but like my wife is always like, you can't do that. You know what I mean?
So would that be for security purposes or
Probably
just
for
personal
security. Yeah,
purposes?
I think it's really for security. As I think she's like, yeah, you can't really because just the other day I think I was talking to somebody who came to the door and I think I was wearing like Star Wars socks or something, and the guy was like, oh, I like your socks, and I'm like tempted to go, oh, you like that? Come on, check this out. But like that's probably not the greatest thing to do.
Yeah, I've often wondered about that myself, and one of the questions that we already addressed was the insurance part of it. But I walk through my house often, all the times, and a lot of times when I leave, I say to myself, I I kind of say to myself, if you never come back home, take a last look at what you have. Or if while I'm gone, somebody breaks into the house. I mean, what I have is nice. It's value to me because of all the effort and energy that, as you mentioned a moment ago, that went into collecting it, the uniqueness. But the guy that breaks into your house and is looking for what? Cash, jewelry, maybe your big screen TV, but I mean, you're going to look kind of stupid going down the street with
Yeah.
TVs these days. So, what is here that they're going to, oh boy, we broke into the right house. This guy's got a Boba Fett collection. Hot dog?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
Yeah.
I would, I know I've seen like I belong to those Facebook groups. And I know people who've had their stuff stolen, and that's a terrible thing. And another thing which is great about those groups too is I know that's happened. People have gotten their stuff stolen, and people from the groups, but buy the other guys some stuff. They'll all the guys will put money in, and they'll kind of like buy some stuff for the person who had their collection robbed, and that's really cool that the collectors has like that
I'm
kind of thing
curious
together.
though, when you say had their stuff stolen, did they break in specifically because he had a rocket firing Boba Fett?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
I mean,
I
out
don't
of the
know.
stuff that was taken, was it
Mm,
jewelry, cash, and Star Wars items?
I don't know. I mean, that's what's probably scary about inviting people to come in and checking things out because then you know what I mean. I would think.
Well, and then as you also have pointed out, there's these time, effort, and such that goes into collecting the items. It's a very personal thing, but at the same time, too, um, there's a little bit of ego.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to be able to show things. Like I always thought it was cool. Like my wife was saying too, is like it'd be great to almost have like like open up like a little gallery or just something like and be like have like something's open for like a month and people can go and view it behind the glass. That'd be kind of cool because I know people who've done that. They loan their stuff out for like some sort of exhibit or something, and that's kind of cool that other people can enjoy it, right? I think
Even
for
though
sure.
it's not the same exact thing, me and Jack were in a what was that store? What would you call that in general terms?
Like an
A
antique
couple weeks
store. I don't know
ago?
which where you're
Antique
going.
store,
Yeah, right.
antique store.
Yeah.
And there was a few people, and it seemed to me like it was all a series of different vendors that had their little
Yeah, those
spaces in there.
consignment stores kind of.
But there was a few of them that had Star Wars items as
Yeah.
part of what they were trying to peddle. Now, whether they were a flipper or somebody who this is how we're going to get rid of our collection.
Yeah, I've seen those too in the consignment stores. They have like, and they have like, they'll have all their stuff, but then they'll have like one little display case full of some Star Wars figures. And sometimes you can get a pretty good deal because I don't know if the person doesn't know, but then sometimes there's something that's like way overpriced for what it is. So that's what happens most of the time.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bill, I
Um,
want to go back to when people see your collection, some family, some friends that come and see it. Is there a showcase item or items that you say, oh, I got to show you this? And what is the this?
Well, to me, what is really cool is the early bird kit. I think that's something cool because that's like the first toy. That's the very first Star Wars toy. The very first thing that came out was the cardboard thing that the early bird certificate, right? That they sold. Uh, it was just basically an empty envelope with a little cardboard stand in the thing that you would fill out to get the early bird kit. So that was the very first thing. But the very first toys were the early bird kit, and I think that's really cool. So I'll explain that to him like what like that's the first Star Wars toy right there. I think so. That's something I would usually show somebody.
That early bird kit of the four figures is what you're
Or
talking about.
figures, yeah,
Yeah.
in the box, in like the paperwork that goes with it, the pegs and all that, and the tray and all that.
When you talk about the pegs, the tray that the four were in, the kind of that white tray, when you talk about the pegs, are we talking about that display stand that held 12
Yeah,
figures? Is that part
yeah.
of
So
it?
the in the early bird kit, it came with a little baggie and it had 12 white little pegs, and you put
Right.
those pegs in the early bird envelope and that stand. You'd put them in that stand.
In that stand. Okay. There was another stand that kind of had the cardboard cut out in the
Oh
back.
yeah, talk about the yeah, and that was once you had the early bird kit, right? There was a certificate that if you were to mail that in, then you got that plastic stand with the cardboard back.
Right. Okay.
So they call that their yeah. So and that's what makes the early bird kit kind of cool is because everybody who got that cut that certificate off and put their name on it and sent it away for that early bird stand. So to have that certificate without it being
Okay.
cut
Now.
is kind of hard to get. That's why it's probably about an $800 piece of paper.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's OG Star Wars right there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
and I remember like the early bird stuff. I know I didn't have it, but I remember that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Very cool.
what would you're into variations, which, by the way, if you get a chance, Alfonso from Mexico City,
yeah, you
that
were mentioning him.
video, very good. He's got a beautiful display, and he's also into all those unique variants. You had mentioned one name as a variant that I had not heard of before. Uzi?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Uze, yeah, from Turkey. They were not licensed figures. They were they were. really weird. Like they'd take like they'd have like a blue stars was one of their figures. It was like a snow trooper, but it was blue, and that was like one of the
Wow.
figures. One of the coolest figures they had, they'd have a Imperial Gunner from the Power or the Force series, and the card, the actual card had a picture of him with typing on a calculator. And how cool is that? And that's a really, that's a really kind of cool
That's interesting.
thing,
Unique.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of leading up to what would you say would be your most unique variant that you have?
Um, yeah. I mean, the thing I really like, I like the orange haired Luke because there's not a lot. That's a pretty rare figure. I don't know if you know that. There's not that many of them out there.
And is that a
You know,
farm boy Luke,
it was
orange hair?
no, it's the Farm Boy Luke, but it only came on. I think it's like a 32B car.
Wow.
It was only out there for like a short amount of time. It was like a transition from a yellow to a brown or something, and
Yeah.
it came. It's pumpy. It's a bright orange here, and I remember hearing there's only like, I don't know, a small amount in existence or something,
How about
but
a toxic limbs Bosk? Do
yeah,
you have
yeah,
one of
yeah,
those?
Bossk. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have one of those. It's by, yeah, the Spanish company. Yeah, and it's like a toxic, pretty expensive. I don't have one of those. I have that in my searches though, and I know people who sold it and
Ah.
who sold it, and they're like, they go for a kind of a pretty penny. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I'm just like $5,000 for like the loose figure or whatever, something like
For a
that.
toxic
So
limb. Yeah, right.
yeah, for
I
toxic
personally
lamb or
would
something
like to
like
get
that.
one. I mean, that green is a really magnificent
It's
green.
really
So
bright. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
right.
a really distinctive color.
It's
So
a
that's a cool
neon
figure.
green before there
And
was
by the
neon.
same,
Yeah.
they call it from the same company. They call it the Disco Boots Death Squad Commander. So he's the Death Squad Commander, but he's got huge, like really big heels, so they call him the Disco Boot. So
Disco.
that's kind of a cool variant from the same
Oh, that's
company that made the
interesting.
tux.
That's
Yeah,
That's
now
cool.
see, yeah, as with Alfonso, you're going to open up some new door to me now that
yeah,
I'm start seeking out all these bizarre things.
yeah.
So in addition to your favorite variant, who is your favorite character?
I, I again, the same thing. The Luke Farmboy, because I was 1978 as a kid, and that's the figure I loved. Is the farm. I love the lightsaber in the arm and everything. That was, I just thought that was cool. So that's my favorite figure. I think
Yep.
it's a cool figure.
I have two last questions. One of the two, which is a relatively new question, and we've not really figured out how to properly word it, at least to generate what I'm assuming, or in my mind, looking for as far as a response or an answer. But the end. We kind of touched on it just briefly in the very beginning, and you kind of indicated that there was some equity here that might be able to be used by whether it be yourself or somebody else. When I
Yeah,
say the end, so the day comes that something happens, you are no longer able to maintain this beautiful collection. What happens to that collection?
yeah. I mean, that's the question I guess everybody else asks themselves. I don't know. Is it
Why
like
I asked.
I say, like, I think a lot of times what happens is the family member comes in and they don't know exactly what everything is. They don't know all the variants or whatever. So they end up, unless maybe it's an AFA graded and there's something on the label, but I think a lot of these people, they must have to go to like an auction site and give it to them and get like, I don't know how much you get, like half price or something for what it's worth, maybe less. I don't really know, you know but
I
I
mean,
would think that that's probably a common thing that would happen.
both my sisters have already said, "Oh boy, Jim, we're going to have a heck of a time at your estate sale." And I'm
Yeah, estate
thinking
sales. Yeah.
pennies on the dollar.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, the only good thing there is I'm not here any longer to worry about it. But there are some steps that I've taken. I actually have our friend Jack in my will, and he's here to help get rid of all that stuff. And the idea was, you 50% of it is yours. Just help get rid of it.
That's a great idea, because you have somebody who knows what it is, and he would probably enjoy the, like, not but
Ah, damn it.
being
Jim
able,
asked me to do something else I didn't want to
but
do.
he selling it. He would he could
Well, he
he can
would
do that,
know
you know.
what its
He would
value
know what it
is.
is.
And the intent is to kind of oversee somehow. I said
Yeah,
50% because the other 50%, I'm not here. So who gets the other 50%? My
yeah,
bookkeeper girl. So
yeah,
she kind of clean up the mess there. And so she kind of oversees him and he oversees the product. So there's a lot of kind of redundancy and somehow people are looking after what I thought was valuable in some sense at some point. And that's really it. I mean, I'm not going to be here any longer. So if it gets sold for a penny, all right, I'm not here to worry about it anymore.
yeah. And
It's
you get to enjoy it. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Is the
So
thought that you're going to be cremated, Jim? Is that what you're thinking?
yes.
So what if we just cremate the collection and then we just kind of put all the ashes together with that? Then
Well,
you're
it's
kind
X
of
amount of dollars to be cremated. I'm sure it's X amount of dollars to have a horse trailer brought up of collectibles and have that cremated as
all
well.
right, all right.
My final question, what advice would you pass along to new collectors or current collectors?
well, one thing I have heard, and I think it kind of makes sense, is the collectors who actually stick around for a while are the guys who kind of take it slow and easy and don't just rush into it. Because I know a lot of people who they get into collecting and they just go crazy, just buying everything in sight, and they kind of burn themselves out. So a lot of the fun of getting the stuff is just getting it is taking it slow and easy and just getting it over time. It's not as fun if you could just run out there and buy it all at once, right?
Well,
It's it's it's
there's
it's a
all
thrill of getting it's of having the mailman come and and just gradually creating your own unique collection yourself.
um,
Yeah.
there's another expression, and it is education doesn't come cheap. And so you
Uh,
got to learn somehow. And over the course of time, whether you made a few mistakes or overbought, underbought, got deals, didn't get deals, you kind of begin to get an idea as to how to play the collecting game and at the same time make it work with your own personality. I mean, if you're out of control or a compulsive person, or you got to be able to put brakes on at some points, and at other times, the credit card's paid down. I can let my foot off the brake a little bit this time.
yeah, I do have to say, like, I do feel pretty as like content with my collection though. Like I'm pretty happy with it. So I feel like I can just kind of get the things that I want. You know what I mean? I don't I just search out for the things I want and don't have to just have to buy everything I see, So
Well, the fact that you're at the point of you're now collecting variants, which is a whole nother level above the normal collector. But then on top of that, you have the benefit of time, wisdom behind you, and because you have a collection, there's not this desire to have to go out and immediately, like the rest of us.
yeah, I feel like I don't really need it's just I just like, there's certain things I want to get a better one of those or whatever and whatever.
Well,
And
you've
like
mentioned
I would
that a
love to get a
few
toxic
times.
Limbosk and everything. That'd be great, you know what I mean? So if I could, I think there's deals to be had. So one of the greatest things I love doing on eBay is just finding the figures that the person doesn't know what it is, and I've done that a bunch of times and like I found like the double telescope and Luke that wasn't labeled that, or like the Han molded boots that wasn't labeled that, you know what I mean?
And
So
molded boots,
it's
we're talking about the Hawthorne on
the
that one.
Hoth one, yeah, because
Yeah.
the more valuable one is the one that it wasn't his
The
legs weren't
molded
painted; they
legs
were
as
molded
opposed to the
like that.
painted
Yeah,
legs. Yeah, right. It
yeah,
has
yeah,
that
and those
nice,
and
like
those are
kind
kind
of
of cool.
butterscotch color.
Yeah, and if you can kind of see it in the pictures, you're like, wait, it looks kind of glossy, you know what I mean? And you can email the guy, hey, can you send a picture of underneath his feet? And then because if you see if the color goes through the peg holes, oh, that's a molded foot, molded leg one, So
Bill's giving away a lot of kind of top tier advice right now. Yes, that's very cool.
Thank you. And that's kind of what the point of the whole show is, to kind of offer people other collectors insights and such.
Right.
So I
Absolutely.
want to thank you very much for spending your time with us, Bill. You've got a really impressive collection there.
thank you so much.
You've given us some information that some of us weren't even aware of, and then you've confirmed other bits of information that we kind of makes us all feel like we're doing the right thing in the right direction for the right
Yeah.
reason.
Well, I mean, thanks
Well,
for having me because I've really, it was fun watching your show and just seeing all these collectors from all over the world, and it's just so cool to actually be a part of that. So,
Thank you. Thank
that's
you
awesome.
very much.
And for those of you that are watching on YouTube right now, if you've made it this far into the video, I'll recommend that you now like the video. Obviously, there's something that you like about this to make it this far in. Bill, thank you again so much for coming in and talking to us, sharing your collection with us and also our viewers, all of the advice that you gave everybody. Really a beautiful collection, as Jim said. Really happy that you shared it. Again, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We'll tell you right now, may the force be with you.
force be with you.